Hey pool chasers, the International Pool Spa and Patio Show is approaching us fast, which means our live podcast tour event is coming up that week as well. The event is Wednesday night, November 6th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Convention Center. We're very excited to announce that we will be interviewing Kyle and Justin Peak of Peak Pools. If you do not know, they are on the DIY Network's hit show Pool Kings. We really love watching these guys and they do some amazing work, so we're very excited to share their story. We will also be hanging out afterwards to get to know you all better because we really enjoy hearing your stories as well. Tickets are $29 and are available through our website at poolchasers.com/events, or you can click the link in the write-up below.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
Thank you for joining us today in episode 67 of the Pool Chasers Podcast. As always, our mission is to help educate and inspire in the form of a podcast. Since we are from Arizona and do not know much about fiberglass pools, we wanted to learn from the best. So we took a trip down to Warsaw, Virginia to visit our friends at River Pools. And let me tell you, it was one of the best trips we have ever taken. The River Pools team was kind enough to host us and show us around the facility. We even got to roll fiberglass and see a pool being installed. Their team is truly the definition of family, and we saw that in each and every department while we were out there. You know, we've heard many different opinions and myths when it comes to fiberglass pools, so we wanted to find out the truth from the people who are experts at them. In this episode, we dive into all things fiberglass as we interview Jason, Aaron, and Cristian of River Pools. Like always, we encourage you to listen and form your own opinion on the subject matter. River Pools is doing things the right way, and we are very proud to call them our friends and to share their story. So, without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Thank you guys so much for having us here in Warsaw, Virginia. It's been awesome being at your headquarters here at River Pools. So, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate you guys doing that.
Absolutely.
Excited for having us
here.
Cool. So, can you guys just introduce yourselves a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what your role is with River Pools. We can start with you, Jason.
Yeah, my name's Jason Hughes, co-founder, co-owner of River Pools. We started River Pools in 2001. I started in the pool industry when I was 16. Grew up doing that, fell in love with it, and basically started the company with my two partners. And so, been around since the beginning.
Awesome. Aaron?
I'm Aaron Daley. I'm the head of manufacturing here at River Fiberglass.
And when did you kind of get into?
I've been here a little bit over a year, working a little bit behind the scenes, and now out with the employees for almost a full year in the offices.
So for any listeners seeing Aaron's barn on social media, this is Aaron. This is Aaron's barn.
And I'm Cristian Trilla. I'm head of marketing and consumer education at River Pools. I've been here for 2.5 years. And professionally, though, I've known the owners most of my life. In fact, Jim was my little league coach as a kid.
Awesome.
And despite that, you turned out okay, right?
I turned out okay. I turned out all right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we want to go back a little bit. When we met at the Atlantic City show, you know, you guys had a huge impact on us. And the first person I met was actually Cristian. I was taking one of the classes that you were teaching, Cristian, and it just blew me away how much you knew about photography, video, drones, all the different types of equipment that you needed. And I just kind of hung back after the class to talk with you a little bit because I was, you know, Pool Chasers became like a big networking piece and just building relationships with people. And we're always seeking to find relationships with people that have similar visions for education and just doing things the right way that we did. And saw that in Cristian, and just by all the videos that you were sharing of River Pools, I was like, wow, that message is really cool. And the way it was shot was really cool. So we got to talking and said, you know, you guys should come by the Pool Chasers booth, you know, back in the Pool and Spa Show in Atlantic City. And sure enough, the whole squad came over there, including you, Jason. You know, you just shared the entire story with us, and immediately we were just hooked. And on the car ride over here, we were discussing how we want to share, you know, what that conversation looked like with our audience, because it was pretty inspirational for us to just seeing a company be built up the right way and continuously, even through some of the hard times our economies had, just kind of pressing through all of that. So if you wouldn't mind, Jason, maybe you could just kind of, you know, from day one, just getting into the pool industry, maybe you could just kind of share what that story looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, today we are a a fiberglass pool manufacturer. We're also a sales and installation company, and we also franchise. So that's one of our big messages is bringing fiberglass pools to the world. How did that kind of all begin, right? And so when I was 16, I went to work with my best friend and his dad. They were pool installers, walked in the backyard. There was a skid steer kind of zipping around the backyard, and there was a bunch of parts strewn on the ground as an above ground pool. Walked around back, and there's no pool yet, but there's these two kids off in the distance, and they already have their bathing suits on, and they're ready to swim. And so instantly I knew there was something special about swimming pools, and honestly, I was hooked right there. So it's what I did. I worked with those two folks, those two guys, every summer through high school and college. Graduated from college, moved about an hour and a half away, decided I wanted to start a pool company. And so I knew Jim Spees and Marcus through church, and went to work with Jim framing homes. He was a custom home builder at the time. And I told him I wanted to start a pool company, and he said, well, let's do it together. So that's how River Pool started. That was 2001 when we started, and we opened a retail location not too far from our current location, and Marcus Sheridan was our first employee. And so there was three of us. Back then, we were trying to be everything to everybody, and we weren't really great at any one thing. We were very mediocre at best. We were installing above ground pools. We were installing in-ground vinyl liner pools. We were doing service work. We were selling hot tubs. We were selling pool tables, tanning beds. We were just really, really diluted. And we installed a fiberglass pool really early on, and it went well. Then we did a few more. And then we read this book, Good to Great by Jim Collins. And then that book, he talks about the Hedgehog Concept, which is basically a hedgehog might not do a lot of things really well, but it does one thing better than anybody else. It balls up in this little ball. And it's allowed itself to kind of perpetuate through the eons. And so the principle there is pick one thing and be better than anybody else in the world at it. With that, we kind of saw how things had gone with the fiberglass pool installations. At that time, the customers were happy. We loved the product, and we said, that's going to be our thing. We saw the potential. Really, it was the day that we made that decision is when everything changed for us. We started to get a lot of traction. We did 6 pools, then 12 installations, then 35, then 65, then 85, and ultimately on to, over, 100 installations a year right throughout a market that's wasn't a fiberglass pool market. When we first started fiberglass pools, there was zero presence. There was 1 or 2 contractors in the marketplace, in our market, and there was probably 1 or 2 fiberglass pools being installed a year. When we first really started to promote fiberglass pools in general, it was just an uphill battle. I mean, no one knew the product. This was before the internet was a thing. It was always a conversation about, well, I want a vinyl liner pool. I want a concrete pool. And the conversation always started, well, let us tell you about fiberglass pools. So it was that way for about 3 years. We were working home shows. We were doing the state fair. We were, pounding the pavement in the backyard at the kitchen table, just trying to make it happen on our own. And we started to see a shift after about 3 years. And we started to have people say something strange to us. And it was, I want a fiberglass pool, but I don't know what kind. And that's when we knew there was that big change was starting to happen. After that's when we really started to do some big numbers. And basically, fast forward to 2008, the recession happened. And like the rest of us that were around at that time, especially builders, it was very difficult. So the leads shut off, the lead flow shut off. And my partner, Marcus Sheridan, he had a vision of what the internet could and should look like. And it was basically a vehicle to be able to teach people. So we found a way through a software called HubSpot to be able to take control of our own website destiny, our own digital destiny, and create our own content. So we started to write blog articles and answer people's questions. And back to the Hedgehog Concept, we wanted to be the best swimming pool educator in the world. And so we went to work doing that. And long story short, Google started to send tons of organic traffic to our site. The snowball started to roll downhill, and we gained a lot of momentum. We started generating leads from all around the country. So we continued to make it through the recession, pulled our way out of that, became a top 50 pool builder on the Pool and Spa News top 50 list. and ultimately took a look at, the manufacturing product that we were receiving, because at that time we were installing pools that were manufactured by other fiberglass pool manufacturers, kind of like a Ford dealer. That's kind of the way it works in America. You buy the product, you're basically a reseller. Well, we were generating all these leads. By that time, we had installed well over 1,000 pools ourselves. So we had already seen the gamut of the different manufacturing problems you could have. So we had a good base knowledge there. And we felt like we wanted to take control of our own destiny. So we started to manufacture our own fiberglass pools around 2013. And, we literally went to Lowe's and bought plywood and screws and found a gentleman who knows a lot about fiberglass. We just started on the weekends. And by the next spring, we had our first model. You have to build a mold first. And that process is a long, expensive process. And so that's kind of how we started in that. And everything we would do, we would test in our own backyard. So we were installing the pools that we were manufacturing. That was a great advantage that we had. And we would add a model, 2, 3, 4 models a year till eventually we developed a full product line.
So I'm curious, when you decided to, you and Marcus were talking about, a new marketing plan and a way of educating new customers by using the internet and blogging and social and videos, maybe and all that stuff. Do you think that helped in making the company better? Because if you had a vision of explaining what a fiberglass pool is and all these different things, it was like, okay, well, we need to actually keep evolving and keep doing all these different things, especially, when you're going to be online and you're going to be having to update content and update information. Because I think a lot of times, even just down to reviews, that social proof that, you are doing what you say you're doing. A lot of people don't like review platforms like Hughes and Yelp and Google and Bing and all these different review platforms. But I think they keep you accountable and responsible to some degree, because if somebody's, saying something about your business, and for the most part, most of the time it is true, a good business owner will take that information and use it to make their company better. Yeah. That's what we always did, because there was quite a few that came back and they were real, we responded and owned up to it and did all that and talked with that employee, or we even let people go because of certain situations that we weren't aware of.
I think that's a great point. I think what happened was we embraced the information age. I think we were already passionate about teaching. So that gave us the platform to teach through blog articles and ultimately videos. It gave us the means to be able to have those reviews, ratings and reviews online, because we were already striving to do a good job. It gave us the ability to earn trust on a high level, because when you teach something to someone that they really want to learn about, then you earn their trust. So, and it was, I think it was a case of just the right platform at the right time, specifically with regards to fiberglass pools, because it's really what moved the needle when we started to teach people the advantages and disadvantages of all the types of pools. So, that came on board. And really what we found is that, it's a win for everybody, because we get to teach them, they get to learn, they get to know who we are. And truly, I think if you spend the time reading and watching our content, you truly get a sense of what we're all about. So there's a trust factor that's there. So I think all that stuff kind of came together. And I think that it really was Marcus's vision that he saw that, before most other people. And what we're doing now, Cristian and I, and especially Cristian, is really just perpetuating that and building on that strong foundation that we built back in the early, 2008, 2009 timeframe.
Right. And what would you recommend somebody listening that, obviously where you're at today, like can't afford a Cristian or can't afford to bring on a CEO in this division or all these different things? Because I think if I were listening to this, I would want to know, like, what steps did you take in those earlier years when you were bootstrapping and you didn't have all these things?
The way we did it back then was we literally sold and installed pools by day and wrote blog articles by night. And for me, I wasn't a natural communicator through writing. I've had to learn how to write, learn how to communicate, at least at a base level, so we can get the ideas across in an efficient, effective way. So that's how we did it. There weren't, now there's a lot more resources available. Cristian can talk more about that, but you can hire copywriters that are great and can crank out the content for you. You can just basically, a business owner today could spend 20 minutes with a good copywriter, have a short interview. The business owner is the subject matter expert, and then the copywriter goes back and creates the content, publishes it, and that's how you can make it happen today.
Right. Thank you. I think really what I was getting was how, you didn't start this business with a ton of capital, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's all been bootstrapped.
But, how did that just sort of progress with time? Did you take on a business advisor? Or is a lot of trial and error? That's how we learn. We fail and learn from it and try not to do it again.
Yeah. We've had multiple business advisors tell us to go out to shut our doors in the early days. We had some issues early on. What we lacked in business knowledge, I think we more than made up with in resiliency and just doggedness. We weren't going to give up. Failure was not an option. We knew what we wanted to do, and we would try something and fail and just keep going until we eventually would figure that out. And that's honestly, that's the process today. We're still pushing, we're still failing. We're trying to get better every single day. I don't think that's ever going to change with us.
That's a critical mindset that we have around here. And Jason leads with that we will never arrive at a point that we're satisfied with. We're never going to be satisfied with what we know currently. We're never going to feel like we have mastered anything, because as soon as we accomplish the thing we want, we immediately sit down and talk about, okay, how do we make that better? What is the next thing to go after? How do we improve this? How do we learn something new that can improve the customer experience or the employees' experience here, or the installation process or the manufacturing process? We've agreed as a group that we will never arrive at the top. And that's ingrained, I think, in all of us throughout our mission statement and everything.
And I think that's such a cool mindset, especially coming from a company that has such a niche. You know what I mean? It's not like you guys have you're not doing fiberglass pools, vinyl liner, shotcrete gunite. You're not doing all these different things. You're doing fiberglass pools, and you're doing decking and different things like that. But you're still acting like the student in all of that, never arriving, because you know that nothing's perfect and everything can always become better and evolve. And we think, coming from such a niche company, that is incredible. Companies like In-N-Out, Chipotle, they've paved the way for, just that real, not giving you a whole lot of options. We're just going to stick to these things, do them better than everybody else. And that's what we're going to do. And they've become extremely successful because of that.
Well, it allows you to have the depth. If you're not focused on the breadth, then you can go so much deeper into your niche, into your whatever it is you're focusing on. And that's really where all these opportunities to improve open up, because you don't see them until you kind of break through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. All right, Jason. So maybe you can just introduce, who's here with us on this interview. We know there's a lot of people that make River Pools what it is, but we have Cristian and Aaron with us. Maybe you could just share, when they got started with you and, what value they've brought to the company since, being on.
Sure. It's an honor to be able to talk about our people, honestly. One of my driving philosophies is just surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are. And honestly, whatever traction, whatever good we've done, that's how we've arrived where we are today, is through doing that. Cristian's been a huge part of that. Started with us in, I think, April of 2017. Came on board. If you go back and watch some older videos, you have to endure watching me on camera, which, Cristian, I think, was a breath of fresh air on camera. Tons of personality, great teacher, learned the industry rapidly, great energy, thinks big picture, just done so much for us. 2 Minutes in the Pool video series on YouTube has been incredible.
Love those.
It's so fun. It's so fast. It's so effective. And, Cristian really heads up the marketing effort. And, it's a difficult thing because he has, of the 100 things he has on his to-do list, he might only get to 3 or 4. And he's always juggling but does a remarkable job with prioritizing and then always finding a way to just kind of put his energy in the right place. Aaron's been with us, for, like you said, for a little over a year and really came on board to take the manufacturing side to the next level. So we were doing fine before. The product quality, there's never been an issue with product quality. It's always been great. But Aaron has brought everything up several notches with the team that he's also brought on board. Incredibly dynamic guy, big heart to match his size and personality. And, somebody that you can...
his barn.
And his barn. Yeah, that says it all, right? So, and I'm sure we'll hear more from these two guys, but, there's other people too. Jerry Sills is the CEO of River Pools, our local sales and installation company. He has really taken that company to the next level and helped us really evolve into, build corporate infrastructure and get a lot of the policies and procedures and systems and a lot of things lined up, and to help us just to continue to grow. My partner, Jim Speece, who I started the company with, is remarkable. We wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for him. We've got Bethany Walston on the franchising side of things. Just a great team of people, other coaches and people that we bring into. So yeah, I can't say enough. Could talk all day about our people for sure.
Thank you, Jason. So we'll start with you, Cristian. You've been taking us, through the facility and the job sites and all that stuff, and it's been amazing. You're so good on video. It's seriously ridiculous. Like totally envy it. We'll just ask him. We were on the job site and we're like, hey, walking on eggshells. Do you think you could talk about this part of the process? Yeah, no problem. Tell me when. When? Just, hey, I'm Cristian and today we're gonna and just like walking through it. I'm like, one take. Like, really? Yep. We just did that in like 2 minutes? Like, dude, I freaking love you, man. So maybe you could just
that's 1 out of 20. One take for me.
Well, we appreciate it. So maybe you could just share, what it's been like being here and, just your experience with everything.
This is what it's been like is fun. It's been an adventure. If you don't love what you do, then you have a job, right? And if you love what you do, it's not a job. So I don't feel like I have a job. I have a thing to go after every day, and I'm excited to get up and go learn something new. And I've always been a pool guy. I mean, I was that kid at 14 who couldn't wait to become a lifeguard and work at the neighborhood pool. I guess I was a lifeguard into my early 20s. And then I had a job here for a year out of college, and then I had to go off into the world and grow up after a very important motivational moment in my life. It was a conversation with Marcus, and Jason, and Jim. I think I talked with all three of them, and they were like, you're going to need to go off and find something else. And it was a turning point in my life, right? And
that's pretty crazy. Were you looking for like a better job in this company or something when they told you that? Or?
I was a 21, 22-year-old kid with a chip on my shoulder who happened to have a piece of paper that said I graduated from college and thought I deserved more than I had earned. And it was just, I don't know, there's got to be a million guys just like me out there. I just wasn't mature. I wasn't ready to take on anything bigger.
I was that guy. I was definitely that guy at one point.
I think every young man has that moment in his career. And so I went off and I got a job at the Y and worked with children and community and actually really, I think, advanced my skill set and my career there. And that's where the teaching, I really enjoyed teaching and educating the community about what we could do with the Y, what the kids were capable of. And I started a lot of programs, but when I started to use video to share stories, I could see how impactful it was. And I was seeking an opportunity to do that full time. And it didn't work out at the Y. I applied for this position just to find out what I did not know in video or marketing in general. I wanted to find out what gaps I had. Ended up getting an offer and coming back to work for these guys, which was, I think I even wrote on my cover letter, if this is meant to be, this is going to be quite a story to come back after all these years and tackle something big. But so I've always been around pools as a lifeguard, managing one through the Y, and then to come back and learn how they're made, how to educate the consumer on how to maintain their own in the backyard, how to help buyers navigate their own decision-making process about what type of pool to get and what manufacturer to choose and what installer. And all that's so important because I'd had experiences hiring HVAC techs or an engineer or, various trades. And if you don't know how to talk the talk with them, it's frustrating as a consumer. And so it was a big relief to see that River Pools was taking the approach to have a completely open door, no smoke on the mirrors. We're going to give you all the information you need to make a highly educated decision that you are comfortable with as the consumer. And I loved it, and I still love it. So to take video, which was the next level of the entire blog that they had created, and just create another version of that only helps reach more people and better educate folks. And I don't know, it's been fun. I do not have a job. I come here every day to do something and learn something myself.
It must be really cool to be a part of, something like River Pools. It comes full circle where everybody's doing their part in building really good fiberglass pools. And then it moves on to your role, which is educating people and being creative and having fun with video and building blogs and social media posts and things like that. And then getting to distribute it, to everyone in the world and maybe target market certain people. That's a really cool thing. And you get your return by it going to the right person, and they're going to your website, and then they're coming on down to River Pools, or they're just calling and, inquiring about getting a new fiberglass pool. I think that is like such a win-win for everybody when you have a dynamic company, and then it's like, you know what, we need to get our product out into the world. We got a real sweet thing here, and getting the right person for the job. And we were always kind of blown away that, you're all like from this area. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like a place that River Pools in our eyes would be at, just because it's just a small country town, which is a good thing. I love it. But for swimming pools, just doesn't seem like the place that you would find, I guess, certain talent for different things. It's cool that you guys have all found each other, one way or another.
It's a field of dreams, right?
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, most definitely. So Aaron, can you share with us when you came on and what it is that you do exactly?
Yeah, I was brought in about a year ago. Jason and I met. Socially, we're neighbors. I think we just found ourselves to be, kindred spirits in a lot of ways, in how my business and career trajectory was, as well as the way River Pools has gone. So in a lot of ways, I think we started talking and sort of realized maybe we might have something we should be doing together, because in a lot of ways, his weaknesses are my strengths, my weaknesses are his strengths. Then there's this thing with a business, there's always this heavy weight to pull. And I never felt in my career that I've had somebody to pull that weight with me. And I felt like I might be able to help with that, because there's so much effort and so much energy that is required on a daily basis when you're running a small business and trying to make it a big business, and the 9,000 things that come at you every week. In a lot of ways, that was my goal. He is who he is for the career that he's had. And at the same time, for him to be the best version of that, somebody has to bear some of the additional weight and help keep the ball rolling forward. And with what they were wanting to do to expand production, and as we're ramping a brand, I felt like I come in and help to start pulling some of that weight and keep pulling the oars in the same direction, so to speak.
Right. And so what were you doing prior to, I don't want to say qualify you for that position, but you have a pretty successful company up in DC, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a remodeling company, which fundamentally installing a pool is generally a remodel. I think there's 4 or 5 that go on new homes a year as far as what we install here. But in a lot of ways, I had the same frustrations they did. We would buy kitchen cabinetry, and something like 9 of the 10 biggest brands are the same company. And I got tired of what we were receiving. So we started manufacturing our own cabinetry. I think what was harder for me, I never worked on building that out beyond us being a really good remodeler for that market, was, finding the kind of people that you want to rely on, trust, and hold hand with to push a company like that forward. I think you and I had a conversation earlier in the week talking about how you sensed that there were good people here, and Cristian and Jason, and in your conversations. And in my own way, it has been I've been lightly in awe, as well as honored to be able to start working with them around here, because, it's really impressive. Being on the outside only a year ago, and where we are and where we're moving forward, just to participate and be a part of that and help pull that giant oar.
Right. It's crazy how doing things the right way, being a good person, working hard, all these different things that you hear all the time, it's attracting A players to want to come help you or come work with you. If I were listening to this, I would be thinking to myself, like, Greg, be the best version of yourself. work harder than anybody, do all these different things because you will attract people like you guys. Because you might be at the first year in, but you just doing that, you're going to want other people that are light years ahead of you are going to want to come and help and be a part of it. And you want to, isn't that what we all want, is for partners and clients and all those different things, our ideal kind of demographic for that to be attracted to us?
Yeah, there's a man named Jim Rohn, motivational speaker, died a few years back. Very influential in my life and Marcus's life as well. He had a quote that I go to all the time: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And you just have to be that person. If you're that person, then everything's going to fall into place for you. You got to do the stuff that you do when nobody's looking. You know, you got to pay the price to be great. You got to work at it. You got to read. You got to study great people. You got to surround yourself with great people. You got to strive for excellence. If you screw something up, you make it right. The basic things that we know we need to do, that's really the foundation of it.
That's the stuff you don't hear about too much, is it's what you do when nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's what makes you, who's the person, you know, what are you reading or watching or studying, writing, anything that you're doing that nobody sees. Nobody sees it on Facebook. Nobody sees it on your website. It's just who's the person that can not go to the parties or not go do these different things. It's just kind of focus in on what you should be doing and just grind it out. But some people genuinely love it, like myself. I genuinely love reading, listening, watching people, all those different types of things. And I think that is, when you have those characteristics, which I think everybody at this table has, it makes it that much easier, because you're just like, you just got to have it.
I am that way now. I wasn't born that way. Like, for whatever reason, that just came on later in life. So if you maybe are listening and don't feel that way now, it doesn't mean you can't become that, to have that genuine desire to improve. I think there's a power in knowing who you are and being honest with yourself about who you are, with your strengths and your weaknesses. And there's a power, that same principle applies to business. If a company knows who they are, what they stand for, like, I think and it's very simple, but we took a lot of time last year to develop a mission statement and core values and a core focus. And those are things that come up in our conversations every day around here. You know, we paid the price to develop them, who we are. We became very clear about who we are and what we are intentionally trying to do. And that just fuels everything we do. And it clarifies a lot of the decisions that we make around here.
Right. Thank you.
Our passion to seek pool industry knowledge and being able to share that knowledge with you is the reason we started Pool Chasers. Turns out Pentair has several ways for you to gain knowledge as well. Take, for example, the Pentair Master Service Program. This is a program designed to recognize dealers, service technicians, and other pool professionals for completing desired training modules. It gives you the tools you can use to troubleshoot Pentair installations in the field and become a master of Pentair product knowledge. Be rewarded for educational activities designed to enhance your Pentair knowledge as you move through the certification levels. With 3 levels to work through, becoming a certified Pentair professional has never been easier. It's training that rewards you and your business. But the real value comes from building your confidence in the field to ensure the customer loyalty you need to keep your business growing. We encourage you to check this out. So to become a certified Pentair professional today, visit pentairpartners.com or click the link in the write-up below.
So I really want to know, what were you looking for, seeking, when maybe you ran into Aaron and you guys just kind of hit it off and started communicating, was like, you know what, I think I could be of some assistance. So what was the first project that you worked on? Was it just looking at manufacturing as a whole and then just really getting in there? And I mean, I don't know anything about manufacturing.
Well,
so
the first project Aaron and I worked on was my garage. So, you know, we just were shooting the bull one day, and we actually hadn't spent much time around each other at all, even though we were neighbors. And I just mentioned, hey, I'm planning to build a garage. And I was using the word planning lightly. And the guy comes back the next weekend with a full set of plans.
No way.
And they were like,
cool.
It was exactly what I had envisioned.
Sort of. He showed me what they had drawn, and I said, that's not right. Let me draw you something else.
Yeah.
Right.
that blunt?
Aaron's always that blunt.
So he says, look, I'll do this for you. I'll bring my people down. I'll order the materials. I'll make it all happen. And he made it happen. And he had nothing to get out of it. I think you might have vaguely known I was involved in a pool company. There was nothing in it for him. just out of the goodness of his heart. He wanted to do that. And I'll tell you, it really blessed my family. And so that's where it all starts for me is, just people that share the same values. Like you can build from there. If that's not there, it all comes tumbling down. There's nothing to build on, but that's where it starts. So then I made a phone call and asked him, some professional questions, and it led to a 3-hour meeting in the barn with a big whiteboard where we just totally brainstormed and had a great time just spitballing ideas and drawing what are the characteristics of a great person? What does it take to make this succeed? And, it's just one of those moments where I think we both knew that we were lining up with each other and that we were going to probably do some pretty cool stuff together.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I think what I'd say about it is I've felt very fortunate in the way my career in life has gone. And so when a neighbor needs something, and in this case, a better plan and a way to get something done, it feels like the least I can do just out of family, place, being a neighbor. Then when you sit down and start talking business and you find yourself so aligned, you maybe find the kind of people you want to be in business with that you've been searching for an entire career. It just had the right feeling to it, and there's no perfect reason other than, you start finishing each other's sentences in a first meeting and you have a lot of the same ideas and this sense of having a blessed life, and you sense the goodness in the other person, and then you find people you want to move forward with.
Right. There's like all the right ingredients at the right time were happening.
One of those ingredients was he just would tell me things I didn't want to hear. Like, I think that's probably, do you think that's really a good idea?
That's difficult.
It's awesome.
Well, I think it's difficult for people to say that to another person, because that is one of my complaints is I wish more people would tell me, don't do that.
Well, I think that as a business owner, you don't get the straight scoop a lot of the times. You're going to get told what people think you want to hear. So to me, to have someone, very intelligent with great experience coming from a genuine place, really question some big ideas, it's exactly what we needed at the time.
Right. I'm assuming getting into the manufacturing side and perfecting that is going into looking at the people and the facility and the amount of fiberglass pools that you want to come out of here a month. Is that kind of what
Aaron should probably talk about what your directives were coming in?
There's a wide variety of things that were going on simultaneously. There was talk about a new pool plant. There was talk about ramping up and becoming a larger manufacturer. So I've taken, I guess, that mandate for whatever it was and worked to drive towards getting us a new plant. And we will open a facility probably sometime shortly after the first of the year across the street. And that's become mixed over the course of the year with getting this facility to perform a little bit better. And we've actually lifted our capacity, which we thought was tapped out at a certain number of pools, by more than 70% just over the course of the year as we've learned and we got the right management in place and we're able to pick this up and start pushing it forward. It is still relevant to the new plant that will be opening sometime probably in late February across the street, but it's a relentless push and energy to know we can do better, and we know we can make more pools, and we know we can hold our quality standards and, make the culture coincide with who we are as a brand and who we are as people.
Right. And I'm sure there's a ton of processes that you have to build that go inside all of that to make sure that everybody knows what their role is and what they're expected to do day in, day out.
Mm-hmm. And then frankly, that's not who we are. We are not process people like Aaron and I. We can understand there might be a need for a process, but there's people in place that can build those processes and make it happen.
It's very cool. I think we've seen it, the trickle down through the whole company as we've just been here being around these people. We were talking earlier, Cristian, about like seeing out there rolling fiberglass with these guys and being around them. And then Tubop was like showing us kind of how he does the inspection process, but just seeing his personalities and the way they talk and interact with us, and we're like strangers to them is pretty cool and a breath of fresh air, because you don't see that a lot, and people enjoying their jobs. And we've been around a lot of different places, and it's just something very rare and very cool to see that you guys have been able to trickle down through the whole company.
The thing that's hardest when you're in a place this size is for, the people who work for you to come to understand that we have that nationwide brand and that appeal and that an obligation that comes with it. And we've spent a lot of time starting to talk about it, because now it used to be we were making 100 and some odd pools to go to river, and now we're making them and you don't know where they're going. They're going to Wisconsin, they're going to Utah, they're going all over the country. And to bring them to understand and take I think it's the obligation, the mental obligation to make sure that that product is right every time, and that we're sending exactly what we're talking about on our videos and sending what we're telling you we are every single time and every single day, and then ramp up the pace at which we do it and the volume with which we do that has been spectacular. And it's a reflection of this place. It's a reflection of the people we have here and their ability to understand, expand, and become part of this organization.
I don't know if you guys picked up on it yesterday when you were rolling fiberglass, but we try to create a family environment around here, just amongst those who are working here every day, because we know that our product is going to end up going to a family who's going to install it for another family. And so we try to create and continuously work on this closeness, this bond, to the point that you notice Mario Jr. just politely stopped chopping glass yesterday to show you how to roll it out properly. And then Sam, in the other pool, would spend a few minutes in teaching you guys how to do that. And then you saw on the job site yesterday, taking time to teach the next guy how to operate the excavator, how to operate the skid loader. And we'll go so far as we may not know where these pools are going. So the guys are producing something, have no clue where in the country it's going. But then somebody in the office will see a photo from a dealer of a project that looks amazing. First thing we'll do is we'll take it to the back and be like, hey, fellas, do you remember that D40 you made 2 weeks ago? Here it is. Check it out. That's your pool. That's what you had your hands on. And they'll take pride in that. They love seeing where the final product goes at the end of the day. And they love knowing, they love seeing photos of kids with their faces lit up in a pool that, they had their hands on. So
It's really cool for you to involve them in the whole experience like that.
Well, yeah, they made it. Without them, we wouldn't have a story to tell. Without a story to tell, we wouldn't be able to find customers or dealers or installers for our products. And the whole thing is full circle. This is not the Jason show or the Aaron show or the Cristian. It's the River Pools way of doing things.
It is the first time that I've been somewhere where you guys act like it is a group effort. Like there's not one person here that acts like they do more than the rest. That if it wasn't for me, none of this would be possible. It's all, no, if that person's not here, this doesn't work. It takes every single person here to make River Pools what it is. That's pretty special. But we actually feel that. You hear something similar, I think, in other places. But when you feel that, and when you go to a place and you actually feel that, it's pretty powerful.
It is a powerful view to take. It's actually what drives our franchise program. Just this past year, we started franchising. So, the way this works is we make fiberglass pools. Dealers from around the country, they sell the pools. It might be Joe's Pool Service is an authorized, dealer for river pools. And that's the way it's done here in the United States, pretty much. We felt like there should be another opportunity for someone who might want to become part of our brand, adopt the systems and processes that we have, and be able to really capitalize on the marketing to a fuller extent. So, we created a franchise program. And the idea here is, just to be frank with you, it's not about generating revenue and it's not about selling more pool shells. It's about that idea that it takes all of us to become better. What we want with the franchising, what I feel like that's destined to become is we're building this collective group of people from around the country, and they're all bringing their own unique strengths and experiences, and it's lifting the entire group. And I don't know that, I haven't seen that exist in our industry. It might, but I haven't seen it. And so if you take that type of a mindset and you get all these amazing, talented people pointed at exactly the same thing, and we all know exactly what we have to do to get there, then there's not anything we can't do together. That's what the franchise program is really about to us.
Right. Who's the ideal kind of candidate? Because it just seems crazy. I mean, you have a certain group of people here. I mean, this is like the main manufacturing, correct?
Yes.
And then like Salt Lake, Kentucky, those other, franchise locations,
Yeah.
they pretty much sell these fiberglass pools and they buy from you.
Yeah.
And they get shipped to.
So, and let me just say also that we love dealers and we love our dealers. And honestly, we don't have a preference. Whether we're aligning with, our goal is to align with the right people. Okay, whether it's a dealer or a franchisee. The difference with the franchisee is going to be focus. If there's one word, it's that. It's that we're finding people that share our values, that are willing to put all their focus on being the best fiberglass pool sales and installation company they can be, and we can help them get there. Your typical pool dealer, fiberglass pool dealer, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is just the way it seems to be. They might install vinyl liner pools and concrete pools or above ground pools and hot tubs and all the things that we used to do. That's great. But for someone who really wants to make fiberglass pools their focus, become part of who we are, then franchising would probably be a good option for them to consider.
Very good. Thank you.
This is Randy Angel with Randy Angel Designs in Dallas, Texas. As a designer of outdoor living, one of the things I enjoy most is working with incredible industry partners such as Ledge Lounger. I'm always looking for new and exciting products to include in my design presentations that will set my designs apart from the competition. With Ledge Lounger's 3D files available for all their product lines, I can create my spaces around the specific pieces I have in mind for the project. From their more well-known in-water product lines to their new outdoor furniture and games, it's as easy as drag and drop, and my clients get to see my vision with clarity. And do you know what I've come to realize? The more clearly I can present the vision, the more focused my clients are on completing the project as designed. And this means an added revenue stream for my company as we complete more and more Ledge Lounger purchases. Download 3D design resources for Ledge Lounger's full collection at ledgeloungers.com/CAD.
So speaking of the fiberglass pools, we don't really have much of those in Arizona, as we've discussed before. So we're really excited to come here and be a part of it and see even how it's, the production side of it, the manufacturing side, what it is. And we didn't know very much at all. So it's really cool. So thanks for letting us come out here and do that. But for others that maybe don't have that much exposure to it, can you explain, exactly what a fiberglass pool is and how it kind of differs from, concrete pools or vinyl liner pools?
Yeah, this is my favorite subject because, there's such
all of our content is about it.
Yeah, there's such a need for just general awareness about fiberglass pools, really. Mm-hmm. So fiberglass pools are manufactured in a plant. They're a one-piece shell that is manufactured and shipped to a job site where the pool is installed. The excavation process happens. The shell is set in the hole. There's a lot more to this, but basically the shell is set in the hole and backfilled around the outside. And then you're doing your decking and other peripheral options and accessories the same as you would on any other type of pool. What makes fiberglass pools different? There's some great advantages. And there's also some disadvantages. And so for someone who wants a pool that's easy to maintain, fiberglass pools are a great option. The surface of the pool is smooth, and you compare that to like a plaster or pebble surface that's rough. That is a very open surface that's, can harbor algae growth. And so we all know as pool owners, algae is our worst enemy. And so, what we're doing is we're really inhibiting the growth of algae and preventing reoccurring algae blooms by having a surface that's very smooth and non-porous. It's not slippery, has textured bottom, but it's relatively non-porous. So as a result, you use less chemicals, you spend less time taking care of the pool. They are incredibly durable. The structure of the pool has a lifetime warranty with us. You won't have a structural issue with a fiberglass pool if it's installed and maintained correctly. The surface of the pool is a gel coat surface, the same as a boat in essence, and incredibly robust, UV resistant. We are seeing pools that are going 30, 40 years. without needing to be resurfaced. We've installed, I don't know how many pools we've installed, Cristian.
We are well over 1,000. I mean,
it's probably closer to 1,500.
Yeah.
Since 2001, we're not getting calls to resurface the pools. We're just not getting those calls from those pools that were installed back then saying, what can we do about resurfacing? It's another question, but we're not getting those calls because the surface is very durable. That means you're going to spend less time and money maintaining the pool, not just on a maintenance side, but you're not going to dump a lot of money into the pool shell in your first, 5, 10, 15, or probably 20 years. The installation is really fast. So where in a lot of areas it might take 3 months, 6 months to build a gunite pool, or, even with a vinyl liner pool, it could take, a couple months. The pool shell is in the ground filled with water typically within 2 days. It's a very rapid process. And that's because the manufacturing of the pool shell is happening in a plant. So all that labor, all that work's happening in the plant. We ship the pool to the site, we set it, we fill it. And speeds up the job tremendously and allows us to do more, sell more, install more, make our customers happier because having a pool installed is stressful. And so I'd much rather have somebody in my backyard for 4 weeks as opposed to 4 months because the stress level doesn't just double, it grows exponentially over time for the consumer. So the surface is also not abrasive to your skin. So a lot of tanning shelves are huge today, a lot of ledges and shelves. So little kids with their knees and toes, it's really hard on them, on their skin. And these pools are smooth, and it's not something sort of thing you think about, but it's just a great experience to use. So those are some of the advantages. The one real disadvantage is that we can't change the shape or size of the pool. So we can't make it 4 feet longer. We can't move the steps to the other side. We can't customize the shape. But we found that for most folks, not everybody, but most folks are really happy with the offerings that we have for them. They want something that looks nice, that's easy to take care of, that's durable, that they're not going to have to spend a lot of money on, that's something their family can enjoy in a short amount of time. And Fiberglass Pools meets all those needs. If they want something 10 feet deep that's shaped like a guitar, that's not the right customer for us, right?
Right. Maybe we could go back a little bit. Like, where does the fiberglass come into play? Is that where it starts? It starts with fiberglass, and then it gets, because Cristian, you took us all through the facility, and we got to see this being sprayed on and whatnot. Maybe you could just kind of explain sort of the origins of where fiberglass comes to play.
So basically, a fiberglass pool is made off of a mold. So we have to make the mold first. So we have to build like a giant version of what we want that pool to look like, as if you could fill it with water and swim in it. And from there, we then build it in reverse out of that. We call that first thing is called the plug. And so then we line that with gel coat and with fiberglass and build out the structure on it. We reinforce that with steel, and that entire mold pops out of the initial thing called the plug, which is the model of the pool.
So the plug is what is actually going. That's the pool that's actually going to that's what somebody buys.
The plug actually gets destroyed. The plug produces the mold, and the mold is an inside-out version of your pool. It's an upside-down, inside-out version of your pool.
Okay.
And the mold is what gets rolled in and out of the manufacturing plant on a daily basis in various shapes and designs. Then we build the pool from the inside out. So we spray the mold with gel coat, and then we spray the mold. Over the gel coat goes a waterproof barrier layer, which is vinyl ester resin and chopped fiberglass in our case. And then we build out the strength with polyester resin, chopped fiberglass, woven roving, honeycomb, structural support in key areas. And once all that cures, you can lift the pool up off the mold, you flip it over, and that's what gets lowered into the ground. I don't know if it's possible to picture that in your mind as you're listening to this, but...
Yeah, and for everybody listening, go to Riverpool's YouTube channel. Cristian did a 6-part series, probably, 2 years ago?
Yep.
I think that's what it was. And they're all phenomenal. You'll totally understand after watching those videos. But I like, when you were talking in those videos about the mold, in just kind of how perfect it is, because it has to be perfectly level and flat and all those things, because there's been issues where that, maybe
there's
other
a lot of
fiberglass pools that have been done where, it wasn't up to that code.
There's a lot of, we wish there were a code for...
wasn't the
for
river pool way.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of painstaking steps that go into producing the plug, right? Because if there's a half-inch dip in the poured slab that we're building this on, then that is going to carry all the way through to the pool when it's produced. It's going to show up somehow in the mold. And so we will take all those little variances out of the concrete slab that we're working on, and we'll build up the floor with putty and shims, and so that the entire
just to create a level surface.
We create a
to
level
start the plug that
right.
builds the mold that builds the pool.
Exactly.
Right. And
So
if you
everything's
can
got to be
imagine
perfect
plug
from the
is
beginning.
Carpenters who make a pool just out of plywood, 2x4s, etc. So the whole pool built like it would look if you painted it blue. You might not be able to tell it apart just to make that plug. Then we can splash our mold, cast our mold from it.
And by taking so much time to cover those details in the beginning, it produces a true level fiberglass pool shell at the end. And that's really critical out in the field, because it means that the installer can set that pool true and level much faster. I mean, you guys have had pools over the years that you've had to pick up and set down multiple times to try to get them level because there was some slight imperfection somewhere. And so we want the pool shells to be true and level out of the gate. And sometimes our installers are putting them in, they're able to set them level in one drop.
Sure.
Which
I just got off the phone with Peter from Knoxville, or River Pools in Knoxville, and they've got, he gives their guys $100 if they can set the pool level the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And
How much has he
they've
paid
said
now?
the last two pools, one set. Both pools are perfectly level. So now they're trying to get into the pool setting business more than they are the pool installation business. They just want to set pools.
But with that,
it's kinda
I mean,
fun.
that's not only beneficial to the installer because it's saving time, but when the job site goes smoothly, the homeowner doesn't see any issues pop up. I've been to job sites in and out of the pool industry. I'm sure you guys have as well, but when things begin to go wrong on the job site, that stress can be seen and picked up by the homeowner. When that's not there, when that's not present, and the homeowner never senses it, there's an appreciation for that they have after the fact.
And there's something to be said too for the fact that we started as a pool installer, so we know what the world looks like through that set of eyeballs. So all those challenges that they go through, we understand, and we put that into our product.
Yeah, and I think if I remember right, our installers using our product went on about a 21 pool tear, first time sets, 21 in a row. I mean, with all the issues you could have on site, it probably speaks to both our installers and the product.
Yeah.
Because they did that many, just drop them in, they're done.
On the flip side, there's no such thing as a perfect product either. We're not perfect. We strive for that. But we'll be the first to tell you, hey, you know what? If there's an issue, let us know. We're going to make it right. I think that because of our unique background, we're able to strive for that on another level because we understand exactly what every square inch of that pool means to the installer.
Right. And we loved being underneath the shell the other day when it was actually being inspected. I think your son was there as well, Jason.
Oh, yeah.
But we were just going through the whole entire thing, and it was really cool to see that attention to detail on every little bit. I mean, it's a big, it's probably, say, 18,000 gallons that it would hold. Mm-hmm. But that's a pretty big shell to inspect and look for, imperfections in that shell. And if there is something, to note it and fix it and, do whatever.
That's right.
So that's really cool. So as we mentioned earlier, we don't have really any fiberglass pools in Arizona. We probably took care of maybe 2 or so.
Yeah.
But anytime we asked about anything or anything we've seen, maybe like in Facebook groups and different things like that, was that there wasn't really any information on this, but we've heard people say that fiberglass pools pop out of the ground. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it. Ty's never seen it. No. I've heard of, concrete pools being, popping out of the ground.
Right.
So maybe you can talk more on the fiberglass pool side of it.
What's interesting is there seems to be these people seem to feed on ignorance. And, when we hear about an area or a pocket where there's a prolific kind of statement that, fiberglass pools pop out, that's kind of the go-to counter to, if you're coming from a place of really just having no information at all. Does that make sense? So I don't know anything about fiberglass pools. They pop up. So I'm going to try to give you a scare tactic.
Because they've heard it from somebody that told them.
They've heard it from somebody. Yeah. Is it true? Absolutely. It's if you empty any kind of vessel, it can float. I mean, that's the law of flotation, like septic tanks, concrete pools, fiberglass pools. Sure. So the question really is because we can speak from our own experience let's say we've installed 1,400 Okay, of the 1,400 we've installed, how many have popped up out of the ground after they're fully installed? 0 is the answer. So that's a pretty low percentage. Like it's not even 0.01. So is it true? Yes, it can happen. I've seen pictures of it happening. Is it a big problem? Absolutely not. It's not a concern. Shouldn't even register as a concern unless, maybe a concern for the person that's telling you about it because they don't know what they're talking about.
Right. And I mean, how could that even happen? I know that everybody's doing their best to make sure that something like that wouldn't happen.
Well, right. So let's say, for example, let's say there's a home. It's a home that's been foreclosed on. It sits for several years, vacant, and there's a fiberglass pool in the backyard. It's mucky because it hasn't been maintained. The new buyer or person who's restoring the property just says, I'm just going to drain the pool. Okay, that could be an example of how that can happen. But from a physics standpoint, the pool will not pop out of the ground unless there's more water on the outside than there is on the inside. So if you keep your pool full, it's not going to float. It doesn't mean that if you drain the pool, it is going to float. That's not what that means. It just means it's an absolute impossibility if the pool's full of water. So we do some things at river pools to really secure the pool shell to make sure there's no way it's ever going to move. And this might have something to do with our 0 failure rate here. I mean, we have a unique installation methodology that we call the River Pools Way. And in a nutshell, we pour a thicker concrete collar around the perimeter, around the top of the pool. We have what we call a rhino rod that is a 12-inch fiberglass rod that we put in the pool shell on the top lip, and the concrete bites around that. We also backfill with stone, with clean crushed stone. We use that under the pool and around the pool as opposed to sand, which is a traditional way of installing fiberglass pools. The stone allows the water, if there is any water around the outside of the pool, to kind of move up and down through that strata and not move that stone. It won't bulge the walls in, and it won't liquefy the sand and cause shifting or movement in the pool. We put these series of best practices together. I think that's done a lot to prevent any issues with the pools moving or especially floating. Those are just a collection of the things that we've kind of gathered over the years. And ultimately, we started this process probably 7 or 8 years ago. And we've gotten rid of all the issues that you could possibly have, recurring issues with fiberglass pool installation.
In a market like Arizona, I mean, I guess this is kind of what we've heard because of the UV and how hot it is and how much chlorine we have to use and the CYA levels rising and TDS levels rising. That's, I think, the concern, I guess, is maybe because we have to drain pools probably every 2 to 3 years or use reverse osmosis now, which is coming around. But, can you drain fiberglass pools, and what should you be aware of if you are trying to do that?
Good question. Yes, you can drain them. Every fiberglass pool should have what we call a drain pipe. It's very simple. It's an 8-inch pipe that we install that goes on the outside of the excavation before we start backfilling. So if you can imagine, this is a pipe that extends from the top of the patio. It has a skimmer lid on top and goes down just below the bottom of the pool. So you can drop a submersible pump down there and remove any groundwater. So if you get rid of the groundwater, you're not going to have a problem. And as you drain the pool, the inside of the pool should be braced. It's a process that it should be an authorized representative that does that, just to prevent, just as a best practice. But yes, you can absolutely drain them. You can drain them safely, especially if they're installed the way we prescribe.
So we know that every pool is different. So when it comes to fiberglass pools, can you maybe give some tips on how to, take care of and maintain, maybe some best practices for a fiberglass pool for, professionals?
For professionals, that's a great question. There really shouldn't be anything. I don't think there'd be any surprises here. Water chemistry, nothing's changing there. You can still add, if you need a lower pH, you can add acid to the water. You're not gonna have to worry about damaging the pool shell with that. It's really basic stuff. We really just want to keep the water balanced and keep the pool clean. I mean, that's really it. Let's say some fiberglass pools have a waterline tile around the waterline and some do not. So if it does not have a waterline tile, over the years, there could possibly be a little bit of a bathtub ring. You can just totally clean that with just about anything. Soap and water, a little elbow grease. If the top of the pool shell after decades above the waterline with a pool with no tile, if it starts to become a little bit dull, you can polish it just as you would a boat. You can buff it and polish it and kind of restore that finish for pools that don't have waterline tile. The big rule of thumb is really to avoid draining the pool below the skimmer. And I know that out in your area, that perhaps you might need to dilute the water some. So in that case, you would just want to, consult with an expert. So you can call us. Anybody can call us anytime. Just throw that out there. Call us anytime with any questions you have about fiberglass pools. We'll do our best to help you. If it's your first one and you need to dilute the water, just give us a call. We can walk you through how to lower that water level safely. It's not rocket science, but there's a few points that we want to cover with you.
Right. And I saw you guys have some robotic cleaners, which we like robotic cleaners as well. Have you had some success, just in your pool park here with the robotic cleaners?
Yeah, we've been doing robotic cleaners for a long time now. Our customers are really happy with them. They do a good job. We don't have the issues that come along with suction side or pressure side cleaners. They're great cleaners, but we just prefer robotics.
Yeah, and probably saving the life of the pump as well.
Saving the life of the pump, one less pump if you've got a booster, one less plumbing line, less potential leaks.
Right. Very cool.
You can use suction side and pressure side cleaners in fiberglass pools, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
What about like kind of tools? Because we've heard like stainless steel brushes aren't good or anything like that could harm the surface.
We use the same brush that you would use on a vinyl liner pool. And we actually use the same vacuum that you would use on a gunite pool, that weighted vacuum head. We don't prefer like the vinyl liner vacuum with the triangular head with the brush. We don't like that. So the gunite pool vacuum and the vinyl liner brush would be two basic tools. Everything else is pretty straightforward.
So just like a standard like nylon type brush, right?
Yeah, nylon brush. Yep.
Do you know the Sweepies brush? Ever heard of that?
Is that the one that has the whale fin?
Kind of like that, yes.
Yeah. It's like navy blue and green, I think.
So the good news is actually we don't have to brush fiberglass pools. Maybe when you open it, if you open and close pools in your area, but unless there's visible algae, which if you're maintaining the pool there won't be, you're not going to be brushing a fiberglass pool.
Interesting.
Wow.
Is that because it's just such a smooth surface that it's falling off?
I guess the question on y'all's end would be, why do you find you need to brush gunite pools?
Dust, algae. The algae is kind of like being embedded into into the cement. You're trying to be proactive.
Sure.
When you're a weekly service.
Yeah.
You're there every week brushing it so that you're being proactive in helping algae not grow on walls. Because if you don't brush, like it will grow.
Yeah,
it's almost like inevitable.
You're knocking all the debris loose that's been embedded into that plaster, proactively, like you said. But on a gel coat surface, there's nowhere for it to embed to. And so things don't stick to the walls. The algae will not grow very readily at all on those surfaces. And so there's just
we don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, you don't have to brush it.
Very good.
Interesting.
We're going to take one of these home with us and just throw it out in the desert and see how well it does.
Maybe after a dust storm, right?
Yeah. No, but the cool thing is like if you have a weekly service, like you would just vacuum. Because after a dust storm, like I don't think the dust would necessarily, especially when the pool equipment is on, it wouldn't necessarily just stick to the side. Even just touching the surface, when we're underneath, it's so freaking smooth that you start to think like, man, it'd be pretty difficult for anything to get stuck to here.
From a weekly maintenance standpoint, literally you're going to balance your chemicals and do a quick vacuum. You're not going to be brushing.
This is pretty random, but does the suction mount for the GoPro go well on the fiberglass pools?
I'm sure it would. I don't have the suction mount.
Not tried that.
I use that 3M tape on everything. Actually, if you look around here, you'll find random places where there's GoPro mounts that are
like on the
side of your truck.
Dude,
golf cart has one.
That would be sweet to do.
It would be.
You mentioned earlier that maybe you could repair them or refurbish them. Is that something that's doable with fiberglass pools?
Yeah, it's a great question. So is there a way to refinish, the interior of a fiberglass pool? Yeah, there is. The best method we found is a product called Eco Finish, and it's a polyethylene powder. It's applied just like you would powder coat, aluminum or metal. So it's not exactly the same process, but similar. And so that would be kind of a resurface option for a pool that needed an entire resurface. As far as small repairs, we can certainly make small gel coat repairs and go in with the same product that we use in the plant. So that can be
similar to how if a boat got chipped or something.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Yeah. Fiberglass is fiberglass. So
That's cool. So you have to drain it to do that, to get to that point
You would
fix it?
You would need to do that. Yeah. I think though it's important to understand that, like, we don't do that.
Right.
Almost never.
Right.
It takes a lot to mess up a fiberglass pool. Like if you drop a boulder in it, something crazy. It would take something crazy to kind of knock a chunk of fiberglass off the surface.
Right.
And maybe just one last question from me is, you were talking about market share yesterday, and I thought the numbers were pretty crazy because we don't see too many fiberglass pools. How many fiberglass pools are really like in the market in the US?
There's probably around 13 or 14,000 that'll be installed this year around the United States.
Oh, wow.
In terms of market share, we have gone from about 8% of the total U.S. market 10 years ago to 17% today, and we've seen that trend accelerating. The pie is getting bigger, so to speak, and just for me, when I look out across our country, because we get to speak to people all around the country every day. People reach out to us that are landscapers and service people, and they're interested in getting into fiberglass. 80 to 90% of the area in our country is untapped, and there's not any single company in most of the country that's really working hard to promote fiberglass pools. It's just nothing but opportunities out there. So all it takes is someone to get in and do what we did, work really hard at it and establish the product, and you can stake your claim, and then everybody else is basically playing catch up, from that point.
Thank you.
How does it compare price-wise to concrete and vinyl pools?
It depends on the area. On an average, it's about the same as a gunite pool. There's certain areas where, down in Florida, for example, fiberglass pool would likely be more than a gunite pool. There's areas where in colder climates where gunite pools would be significantly more than fiberglass. So it's a regional question, but as an average, it's about the same as gunite pool.
So like a simple freeform gunite pool, right? Not like you're crazy extravagant. Just for people.
If we're just talking about the
you're
vessel,
talking about
right?
like a normal pool.
Yeah.
Cool. So one last thing we'll kind of talk about is that you guys have been really open with sharing knowledge with us and with the market and the homeowners and everything. Why did you choose to do that? Because we kind of do a similar thing, but it's not very popular. It's not a popular opinion. It's getting more popular now that we've seen these last couple of years. People are being more willing to share. But why have you guys chosen to do that from even from the beginning?
Because our industry needs an upgrade. You ask people across the board, what does pool guy mean to you? They probably are not going to come back with positive statements, and there's a problem with that. And so I think that there's a generation that's coming on board now that has a more of a global mindset, more of I'm not trying to discredit our industry. We do a lot of things really well. We're better than we were 5 years ago. We'll be better 5 years from now than we are today. But the short answer is because when you are transparent and when you put yourself out there, then you can't afford to lack integrity. It almost forces you to do the right thing. And so but it's actually a lot easier to do that. If you're the type of company that just does the right thing anyway, why not just put it out there? And there's always going to be naysayers and people saying, you're giving away the secret sauce. You shouldn't be doing that. And that is a scarcity mentality. And we're coming from a place of abundance where we feel like whatever we give, the more we're going to get in return. And we don't do it to get the return. We do it because it feels right.
Yeah. It seems like that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you're doing things for the right reason, not going out of your way to make education and be somebody different because you think that's like it's a trend and that's where things are going, but it's not something that you really believe in. Because I think it's much different when it's something that you like think and feel is the right way to go.
I think to me, what's most fun about being in business is it just gives us another way to be ourselves. It's like this is just who we are. I don't know how much thought we put into that. It just felt like who we were, so we did it. And, it could have easily done something else. But I think that, to me, that's what excites me, is that we can take this idea of taking a product or a service and then trying to find these people that are looking for that product or service. And we can put ourselves into it to the degree that it reflects who we are, and that we can build this relationship with them And in doing so, we're building this collective body of people that we can work together with and create a team. All that just kind of mixes together. And I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of what, that's what really inspires me in business to do what we do.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. We always like to ask if there's a book or podcast that's made a difference in your life. So if you guys have one, could you each share one? Maybe that you said good to great earlier, but anything else that's really helped you through your guys' careers?
One of the books that, it's just stuck with me throughout the years was John Maxwell, 21 Laws of Leadership. And then most recently read just the biography, Steve Jobs. That man was brilliant, just all the way down to his product design, the experience you would have using, the Apple products and the process they went through to design them, create them. So it's quite a backstory into his mindset, but 21 Laws of Leadership has stuck with me for years. Kim Moser at the Y. She's, even outside the Y would be a mentor of mine, but she made a group of us read that, and she would actually quiz us on it. So we were young professionals, and we're going over a law week by week. So
it's a great book.
Yeah,
that helped you grow up out of the 21-year-old state.
It helped me grow up. Yeah, quite a bit.
Well, thanks. How about you guys?
For me, Steve Jobs' biography by Walter Isaacson is up there. I actually got it. I think it was on CD, so I ripped it, and it's in my drive on my truck. So it comes up about every 8 to 10 months, depending on how much time I'm spending behind the wheel as it randomly comes out. I get through that one, and there's so many things about A players wanting to work with A players, and these ideas that he had that I just think reverberate through everything you want to do in a career. And then as far as podcast goes, I'm a huge fan of This American Life. Catch it every Sunday when I'm getting back up the road, and just always some sort of delicious story and something going on with them.
Yeah,
that's good stuff right there.
Pool Chasers, obviously.
That's one
for the win.
From a book standpoint, personally, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, changed my life. Professionally, Traction by Gino Wickman, revolutionized the way we do business.
Yeah, Traction's an amazing book.
Yeah,
Traction changed our business too. It's awesome.
I feel like everything changed after reading Traction.
Yeah, we were talking about that at Atlantic City last year.
Oh yeah, we were, weren't we? Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have a similar experience where it was the first book, like you just got through and you're like, oh my God. I think I'm on something. Like when you find like a gem, you're like, oh my God. I mean, I hit you up. I was like, dude, I was doing a bid. Some people recommended this book, like started reading it, and after that, it was like went out of town. Yeah, we went out of town for a few days to the whole entire thing, and it changed everything. It's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. It's the first one we like super clicked on too, which is cool. Well, just to wrap it up here, thank you guys again for having us out here. It's been a true honor being with you guys, allowing us to come and see the culture and rolling glass and being around all that you guys do. And it's been super inspirational for us, and we're very excited to share everything with the listeners. So we appreciate you guys.
Thanks for coming out, fellas. Had fun spending a lot of time with you.
Yeah, it's great to align with you guys. I feel like we're kindred spirits to a degree.
Most definitely.
With you, and love being around you.
Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to find out more about our guests or the sponsors of the show, you can check them out on the links we have provided in the write-up below. We have also provided links to our social media platforms, so please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our tag is Pool Chasers. If the podcast has brought you any value, please do what you can to support us through our Patreon page by going to patreon.com/poolchasers. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to be updated each time a new episode is released. One last thing. If you're not yet in our Facebook group, join it today to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are all trying to better the industry. Thank you all for the support. We appreciate your time and your ear.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.